Welcome to the luncheon edition of news as produced for today, Wednesday, November 23rd, 2022. The luncheon edition comes to you through the auspices of Flow. Coming up in the headlines, locally, commencement of consultations to review fishing vessel safety regulations. Regionally in Trinidad, lone survivor in Paria incident describes it as an unbelievable nightmare. Internationally, World Cup alcohol ban brings relief for some fans. And let's not forget, we have the latest in sport. Head coach Phil Simmons has described the 4-day game as hugely important. I'll have the details for you when I return.
Now more than ever, Flow is working hard to keep you connected to the things that matter most. Your family, your work, and your favorite entertainment. We are also providing Flow Study free of charge so students can stay connected and up to date with their schoolwork. And because your safety is our highest priority, you can manage your account from the safety of your own home through the MyFlow app. We are here for you, keeping you connected.
Northern News Network. First in news, reviews, and interviews.
Welcome back. I am your presenter, Roya Charles. Discussions have begun delving deeper into issues relating to safety of fishing fleets and safety at sea, regulations to protect lives and livelihoods of fishermen. The Department of Fisheries, a key stakeholder in the process, is being supported by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization through a letter of agreement with the Windward Island Research and Education Foundation under a project titled Project for Practical Climate Change Adaptation in Fisheries Intervention in Grenada. As this project is being implemented, the first activity at the Fisheries Conference Room in St. George saw stakeholders including input suppliers, staff of the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Fisheries and Cooperatives, Legal Affairs, Ports Authority, and the Coast Guard that are members of the working group. The participants were able to share their technical expertise and concerns as part of a focus group. Information that will be taken into consideration as government seeks to upgrade the safety at sea regulations. This project, which is expected to have an impact on the local marine industry, will run until November of 2023. Chief Fisheries Officer Justin Rennie explains the timeline for implementation.
So we started off with an inception meeting between the three entities. The focus group meeting is what we have in today. Between 5th December and 12th January, there will be 7 fishing community consultations. Okay, so we'll be going out to each of the major fishing communities and have consultation with the entire fisher folks community. By 16th January, we expect that the first draft will be developed with input from the FAO legal department. So FAO had also contributed the legal department to assist with the initial drafting and some ideas in terms of how to go about with the updating of the legislation. By the 20th of January, we expect that the first draft will be submitted to the Ministry of Legal Affairs. And between the 1st and 10th of February next year, we expect that we'll circulate that draft for feedback from all stakeholders, okay, to review and feedback, and a validation workshop, which would comprise of key stakeholders, but a representative from the Fisherfolk organization would attend that workshop.
Recognizing the challenges being faced by small island developing states with the vulnerability of their economies, the project is expected to strengthen cooperation within the region, which augurs well for the marine industry, says Trevor Noel, Deputy Director of WINDREF.
There will be a comprehensive review of the existing safety at sea regulations of Grenada with a view to modernizing and upgrading the existing regulations in line with international standards for the industry and advancement in technology. And this current grant is the 3rd consecutive grant awarded to WINDREF. We are happy to collaborate as we as one people recognize the challenges as small island developing states with vulnerable economies. We at WindRef look to strengthen our cooperation and unity within the region, since we share common principles in developing, managing, and utilizing the living marine resources in a responsible and sustainable manner. We are cognizant of the threat of fish stocks and habitats from pollution and illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing, as well as the adverse effects of climate change. A major challenge remains. That is bringing Caribbean countries together in the recognition that the region cannot sustain and develop its fisheries without integrating its processes.
The government of Grenada is pleased to announce the appointment of a new chairman and members of the Public Service Commission in accordance with Section 83(1) of the Grenada Constitution Order 1973. The following appointments by the Governor General, Her Excellency Dame Cecile Lagrenade, acting on the recommendation of the Prime Minister, Honorable Deacon Mitchell, took effect from November 22nd, 2022 for a period of 3 years. Mrs. Deborah St. Bernard, Chairman. Mr. Bernard Antoine, Member. Miss Faye Thompson, Member. Mr. James Alexander, Member. Miss Judy Benoit, Member. Newly appointed Chairman, Mrs. Deborah St. Bernard, who has held numerous appointments as a director on boards and is currently the president of the Grenada Building and Loan Association, brings her extensive experience to the position, having previously served as a member of the Public Service Commission. Miss St. Bernard joined the public service in 1978 and served in various positions, inclusive of the Ministry of Finance and the Attorney General's Chamber, before retiring in January 1999. The newly appointed members of the Commission contribute professional experience in a wide range of fields, including human resource management and development, education, healthcare, leadership, law, and communication, among others. Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell extends a warm welcome to the new chairman and members, underscoring the importance of the Commission in uplifting the standards of the public service, upholding conduct, as well as leading the service to realize transformational outcomes and services for Grenadians, while protecting and elevating the values of integrity, fairness, justice, merit, and conduct. This concludes the local segment of news as produced by Triple N. Sports is up next.
First, fast, and factual. You are totally covered by Triple N.
Than ever, Flow is working hard to keep you connected to the things that matter most. Your family, your work, and your favorite entertainment. We are also providing Flow Study free of charge so students can stay connected and up to date with their schoolwork. And because your safety is our highest priority, you can manage your account from the safety of your own home through the MyFlow app. We are here for you, keeping you connected.
Good day, sporting fans. I am your presenter, Vondel Joseph. Originally in cricket, head coach Phil Simmons has described the 4-day game against the Australian Prime Minister's 11, which started on a Wednesday, 23rd, as hugely important, stressing it will allow West Indies to reacquaint themselves with the challenges of the ping ball. The touring Caribbean side will face Australia on the lights in the second and final test in Adelaide, their first ping ball test in 4 years, and Simmons expect the day-night tour match at Manuka Oval to provide a vital preparation. It will be important to just getting accustomed to the ping ball. I think it is a little bit of a difference to the red ball, explained Simmons. Some of the guys have played a ping ball test, but most of the guys have not. The coach further added that the things you have to look at including make sure we are bowling the right lengths with the ball. It's going to be different to the red ball. It's just getting accustomed to it. The game will be West Indies' last two match before they take on the powerful host in the opening test in Perth starting November 30th. Last week, West Indies endured a strong challenge in the opening two match, a 3-day affair at Phillip Oval against a combined New South Wales and Australian Capital Territory 11. While they gathered 424 for 9 declared against the largely inexperienced side, their bowlers found our wickets hard to come by as the hosts pile up a 424 for 6 declared with a 24-year-old Blake McDonald 177 not out and a 22-year-old Oliver Davies 115, neither of whom possess first-class experience hitting centuries. Simmons will leave the West Indies job at the end of the series, said his side's performance in the match would be an indication of their readiness. I think it is hugely important how we bowl and how we sharpen up as a batsman. It's going to tell a lot about how we go into the test match in a patch, so it is hugely important, Simmons said. On the international scene in basketball, Dima DeRozan scored 28 points and Zach LaVine 22 at the United Center in Chicago as the Bulls ended a 4-game losing run. The Celtics' Jason Tatum scored 28 points. He also had 11 rebounds and 7 assists, and Jaylen Brown 25. The Celtics remain top of the Eastern Conference with a 14-3 record, while the Bulls are 11th. The depleted Golden State Warriors fell to a resounding 128-83 defeat at the hands of the New Orleans Pelicans. Brandon Ingram scored a season-high 34 points against a Warriors side who rested Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Andrew Wiggins in New Orleans. In Wisconsin, Giannis Antetokounmpo scored 37 points despite struggling at the free throw line as the Milwaukee Bucks overcame the Portland Trail Blazers 119-111. The Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Atlanta Hawks 114-102 to a record third consecutive victory, while there were also Monday night's wins for the Los Angeles Clippers, Minnesota Timberwolves, Indiana Pacers, and New York Knicks. And that's sports for you. I was your presenter, Vondel Joseph. Thank you for listening.
After this commercial break, international news will be next on this station.
Now more than ever, Flow is working hard to keep you connected to the things that matter most: your family, your work, and your favorite entertainment. We are also providing Flow Study free of charge so students can stay connected and up to date with their schoolwork. And because your safety is our highest priority, you can manage your account from the safety of your own home through the MyFlow app. We are here for you, keeping you connected.
On the international scene, FIFA's decision sparked criticism for some visitors, but many Qatar-based fans, including families, backed the move bodied by the football. Abdullah Murad Ali put his hands on his heart and said his country welcomes everyone coming to the World Cup. The Qatari banker wants football fans to treat the event's host nation as their second home. His only request: they should also respect its culture. Qatar is an Islamic country and alcohol is haram, meaning forbidden in our religion. All we ask is for the world to show some ihtaram, which means respect for all culture. He made those statements on Monday, a day after the opening match of the tournament. Ali was referring to the disappointment among some fans about FIFA's decision on Friday last to ban alcohol at tournament venues. Liquor is still available at selected hotels, bars, and at the official FIFA fan zone. Nevertheless, the decision by International Football's governing authority has been criticized by some fans for its timing. In the lead-up to England's first game of the tournament against Iran on Monday, a few disgruntled fans were seen complaining about a lack of understanding for what they considered to be their drinking culture. Some were seen asking more security, much to the latter bemusement, for directions to a place where they can find an alcoholic drink. A few fans said they feel like they were misled by FIFA. But for others, the decision came as a relief. A Jordanian mother of 3 girls raised in a football-mad household said the family has tickets to a late-night match and is apprehensive about being at a stadium where drunk fans could potentially be in attendance. When we go to other countries, we don't ask them why we are being asked to follow their rules or respect their culture, she said within a shrug. We just do it. According to reports coming into our news desk, FIFA may have some legal action in works from Budweiser. Football without alcohol now is a strange one for the world. Welcome back to Regional Developments. In Trinidad and Tobago, Christopher Budram, the lone survivor in the February 25th Paria diving incident, has described being in the pipeline as an unbelievable nightmare. Speaking during the Paria Commission of Inquiry on Tuesday, an emotional Budram said the men formed a human chain in a 30-inch pipe to get themselves out of the situation. Sunny Lala has been following this story.
A distraught and emotional Christopher Budram recalled the events of February 25th, a day which he said he has been living every night since. Budram went through every detail of his conversation with the divers in the pipe, but said that Rishi Nagisa did not respond and the men took the decision to come back for him. He said despite some being seriously injured, especially Kazim Ali Jr. and Yusuf Henry, they all formed a human chain to attempt to get out. Budram said he had no idea he was the last to be sucked in and was told by the others he was heading in the wrong direction. He said with only 2 tanks remaining, the air pockets were becoming smaller and he took the decision to go get help and return.
I was always somebody who could control and see things through, and I feel like I tell her how it's coming back when I feel like.
Further up the pipe, Budram said he encountered 2 other tanks to help him reach at the top of the riser, where Faisal Kurban also managed to follow behind him.
Everything inside me was open and rescue was going on. Nobody was making an attempt to rescue me. You know what I mean?
On reaching close to the top, he said he was eventually rescued and insisted to his rescuers that the other men were alive.
I tell him, I say, boy, them fellas in there, let's go and save them, let's go and save them. And Drew was like, all right, but you relax. I said, don't tell me to relax. To what? Better let me go back and save them, because like all I want to do nothing.
Mr. Budram also refuted claims that a conversation between him and Paria took place that night.
It's alleged that there was a conversation at around 10 o'clock that night, but you have no recollection of that.
Budram said he had no idea if he was dead or alive near the end, but regretted that more could not be done to save the others. Sonolala, TTT News.
Thank you, Sunil. This wraps up the luncheon edition of news as produced by Triple N for today, Wednesday, 23rd November 2022. I have been your presenter, Roya Charles. Thank you for joining us.
You have been listening to the lunchtime edition of news. Our next major news is at 5 p.m. Remember to join us then.
From many distant lands, our forefathers came, some seeking adventure, some bound in chains. Through battles waged and fought, through victory and
pain,
by test of their courage.
Welcome brothers, welcome sisters, welcome to our program On Target. As usual, as soon as we start this program, you can pick up a telephone and give us a call. We never have a subject matter. We speak about anything. You have the power to determine what we speak about. We take calls, and you can change the subject matter by what you want to contribute. We try to read some of the comments on Facebook and also on WhatsApp. On Facebook, WhatsApp, and so we take calls. So give us a call. The number to call is 442-0175. And we also on YouTube, Sister Radio Karikou, and our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, anyone who have the internet, you can access Real FM 91.9. That is the beauty of technology and the opportunity we have in Grenada as we liberalize the telecommunication network. You know, a long time we didn't speak about anything to do with agriculture. We never want to leave agriculture behind. We know some farmers or some individuals like to contribute when agriculture comes about. Grenada is a small country with a small economy. We do not have any big landmass to produce agricultural products in abundance. And that must be in the back of our mind, and it must be significant. However, we have a plus advantage, could be an advantage or a benefit to most Caribbean countries. Because Grenadians are the most land owners in the region, it means that the majority of our people can make their own decision where agriculture is concerned. Perhaps they need guidance and technology and expertise. Over the years, governments have been contributing significantly to agriculture. In that you always have concession. Whether to purchase vehicles, people have made maximum use of concession, 100% concession to obtain vehicles for the land. And we also have an extension service that is available to farmers. Farmers can use the extension service. And that is free. You don't have to pay. Government pay these people. The road network in Grenada is very good. In fact, we have one of the best road network in the region. So we have a lot good going for us. Government also provide support, labor support for farmers. And plants, when you get them from the propagator, is seriously subsidized. We have a challenge with citrus plants now because of citrus greening disease. You may have challenge getting those plants. Yes, caller, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. P.
Yes, caller, welcome.
I believe that I don't know whoever is responsible for bringing in these seeds. Something has to be done or should be done. I don't know if it's in terms of research or whatever. Because I believe one of the reasons for the shortage is with the cabbage. Lately, I mean, people that have been close to in farming, after planting in excess of 10 or more trays of cabbage, you'll find that it's doing well. And when it's time, almost harvesting time, you'll find the cabbage, they hardly fall or they're very light or there is nothing much you can get out of it. As a result, the farmers suffers and there is a shortage. That's one of the reasons, in my experience, of some of the shortages. I remember a couple years ago when the senator for farmers took, I don't know, whoever, one of the agencies that are responsible for bringing corn in the island. When he said that, after he planted so much corn, he didn't get, his production. And this is one of the reasons why I think the same agency had stopped bringing in the corn seeds for a while. So I believe that somebody needs to, on behalf of the farmers, do something about that to, help, because there are cases where people have to pay for the seedlings and nothing is being done about it. Have a great evening.
Yes, scholar, that is a challenge. And we don't produce seeds in Grenada. And some of the plants that we could have seeds, we don't have. I wouldn't surprise just now we had to import pea seeds to plant. We are already importing corn seeds because we have lost a lot of the original genetic material. And we in the Caribbean, based upon the amount of seeds we have to buy, perhaps have to work together. And the Ministry of Agriculture in the Caribbean have not been working together or doing much in terms of obtaining seeds. So our seeds used to come out in Germany and Europe and the United States of America. So if you have the Caribbean countries and they do nothing about seeds, sometimes it's practically laughable. Sometimes it's practically laughable. When you hear experts in the Ministry of Agriculture making a big talk about food security. There are some areas, and you hear what is the focus point. You come to realize they're only joking. You know, that is one of the challenges we have. We have the University of the West Indies, and their agriculture research department should have been leading the charge where some of the seeds are concerned, leading the charge in production of some of the seeds. But as I said many times before, the University of the West Indies has not done justice to agriculture. Way back in the 80s, John Compton said, we worse off than the days of Pharaoh. Because in the days of Pharaoh, we had the bullocks and the cart. Now we're fighting with the hoe and the spade. He chastised the University of the West Indies. They have not done justice to agriculture. The University of the West Indies have made a big name for the Caribbean in the international community. They're well recognized. It's a university that is well recognized in the international community. But as for the development of agriculture in the Caribbean, they have not done a good job. And when you say that, I know the entire intelligentsia and academia ready to come down your throat. So I'll just point out some areas. What the University of the West Indies has been doing for beekeeping in Grenada. We used to purchase hives from Hawaii, queens from Hawaii. The biggest challenge to beekeeping in Grenada and the Caribbean is the availability of queens. Guyana have Africanized bees. Trinidad have Africanized bees. The United States have Africanized bees. We in the rest of the Caribbean don't have it. But the university has not assisted us in producing queens. And when you hear the Ministry of Agriculture in the Caribbean talking about beekeeping, without talking about commercial queen production, you know, joke they make it. What have the University of the West Indies done for fishing? What have the University of the West Indies done for nutmeg, cocoa, and spice science? After Ivan, Grenada went to India for exports. Those exports that come was learn. They come to Grenada to learn about marketing and other aspects of agriculture. We fail to recognize our own local export. So these are the issues. What the university has done for crab farming. We could farm crab in the Caribbean. In Grenada, we could farm crab. We export crab to Trinidad. We cannot satisfy the market. More and more, because of a small landmass, you know we're going to lose the habitat for crab. But our bright intelligentsia have not contributed to us. Yes, scholar, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, scholar, welcome.
Mr. Pierre, in the election campaign, the Grenadian people were told.
You have to speak a little louder.
Yeah, the Grenadian people were told that the previous government was the one responsible for the high cost of living in Grenada. And they told them that if they vote for them, they're going to bring down the cost of living and make life much easier for people. And they also promised them they're going to make them permanent. And when you look at when we look around now, what we are seeing, cost of living going up every time, every day going up. You go in shop today, next people that the price change. And some people who they're working and you see the price of living go up, Mr. Pierre. Yes, you will complain about it. what you need it, you still go buy it. You still go buy it. So even some of the people that sent home and cost of living going up, it become more difficult. Impossible for them to buy because they out of a job. They out of a job. I'm saying, see, I want to see it's time for people to speak the truth to the people because because of the wars that are going on in Ukraine, right? A lot of the cost, a lot of things go gone up, and it was there with the previous government, and it is still there. Nothing changed. But then they was blaming they were blaming the previous government for the high cost of living. So if you blame the previous government for the high cost of living and say go bring it down, the price of sugar no. So you cannot blame the one now and then when the same war was going on, you are blaming the government. So then if you blame the previous government for that, the cost of living going up, you should blame because the same thing going on now. And Mr. Pay, a time for people to get to know the truth, understand what is going on in the world. Because see, once people get to understand what's going on in the world, people come alive for them and they will get thankful. They will be deceived. And Mr. Pay, it's not easy. Not easy. When the day reach and you look up, look down, you have nothing. It's not easy. Because you see, yes, I'll be better to teach a man to fish when you go and fish for yourself. Fish for yourself to hold. So when you hold fish, you hold fish to sell and you go get some to cook for your family. But then sometimes when you lose a job, you might get a job now, it will take a little while. But that's while it takes to get a job. Your family have to they have to give them money to go to school, you have to buy food, you have to buy clothes, bills to pay. It is not easy. And the electricity bill is going up. Because before the election, if you to pay $150, $200, who to pay $200 now they pay about 400 for something. Who to pay 150, they pay about 300 something. It cost of living skyrocket every time. All right, so Japan, that's my piece this morning.
Thank you, Color. Color, what you say is very important. But the challenge we have in Grenada is that we have two different political parties that have generally the same macroeconomic policies. The biggest difference with the two political parties is the attitude to the low income group. Some of the factors that to the increase of cost of living in Grenada, irrespective of which government are there, it will happen. The measures taken to buffer, to provide a sponge, to help the people in the lower income group is the difference. The National Democratic Congress, their attitude to the people in the low income group is generally less sensitive. You would hear utterances coming from them to teach a man to fish. I am of the view that when you leave primary school, you should have already learned to fish. When you leave school, you should learn to fish. And what I understand by the term teach a man to fish is teach a man to eke out a living. As people's survival is threatened, the moral code of ethics will deteriorate. This is the reason when you have high unemployment, you have a greater level of social decadence. You have more violence. You have more issues with predial larceny, sexual crimes. The Calypsonian would advise people to open their business. Some Calypsonians say, licks it, drink rum. And you have a deterioration in society. This is the biggest difference between the National Democratic Congress and the NNP. The National Democratic Congress, doesn't seem to care much about the people in the lower income group. They tend to blame them for being there. So the actions they take doesn't necessarily help these people in this group. This is the biggest and most fundamental difference between the two political parties. The National Democratic Congress tend to seek the interests of those who are in a better position. It is natural to them. And that is why you will hear the utterances of eat-a-food people, needy and greedy people, handout, teach a man to fish. This is why you hear these utterances. So the emphasis of the NDC is not on these people. You see it in the tax policies. You see the attitude towards the electricity company, where they move out the concession. You will see the attitude there. You see the attitude in terms of employment. You expect serious hike in unemployment. Already, the NDC fire over 500 people and they don't blink an eyebrow. In fact, when the Minister of Labor was mentioning these people wouldn't pay, it seems as though she had joy on her face. Because that is the philosophy. One have to give it a chance to see. Because either people did not know or people take it for a joke. Whenever the National Democratic Congress is in power, we have higher unemployment. Whenever they come in power. Whenever the National Democratic Congress come in power, more people lose their job. They cut social programs. Even the older people, the National Congress is more insensitive to their needs. So when we coming from the worst pandemic in the world in the last 100 years, a war is going on in Europe that a number of people are worried could bring countries back to the dark ages. The first act of the National Democratic Congress is to fire, get rid of people in the lower economic grouping. And if you ask them why they get rid of this group, they say it has been done before. They cannot prove it, but they consume their own lies. They consume their own propaganda because it fits in well with their philosophy. It's difficult. I don't even believe it has benefited the National Democratic Congress politically. But over the years, that is the policy. That is the philosophy. That is the culture. It is difficult to understand, and I've been saying that for a lot of years, why people in the lower echelons of society gravitate towards the National Democratic Congress. That is, you need to call psychologists and social scientists to find out why. I have difficulties understand why they do it, because I don't believe it is in their political interest. But yet, they are able to sell a package to an unsuspecting group and they fall bait for it in it every time. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to encourage people, because no matter what, people won't starve. They will do what it takes to survive. In the process, we could have serious social decadence. You could have rise in crime and other poverty-related disease, poverty-related conditions. It can even adversely affect the health and disease condition and morality. But that is the situation. Somebody on the Facebook asked the question, isn't the rain a challenge to cabbage and tomatoes? Yes, the rain is a challenge to cabbage and tomatoes. I remember many years ago, post the revolution, one of our men from academia wrote an article that I became fascinated with. He said if every household in Grenada eat 1 pound of cabbage a week, 1 pound of cabbage a week, it means that we will produce 20,000 pounds of cabbage. And I thought that was fascinating. The very said individual who wrote that paper became the Minister of Finance, and he became the Minister of Agriculture, and he didn't plant 1 pound of cabbage. In fact, the National Democratic Congress, with that very said minister, fired the workers in the agricultural department. The lowest paid workers there were the ones that lose their job. I was baffled. I couldn't understand why. A man that wrote such a nice thesis that seems very practical, that became in charge of agriculture, was in charge of the estate, never plant a pound of cabbage. That very said government cut down Belvedere nutmeg and plant banana. It couldn't stomach it. I don't think no extension officer agreed with that at that time in agriculture. So they had to get an individual outside of agriculture, just come out and train in Jamaica, to lead that project where they cut down Belvedere nutmeg and plant banana. Some of the challenge we have in Grenada, I don't know if it is a blight because they left cocoa and nutmeg as a burden for us. Farmers involved in agriculture are not investing directly in agriculture. Let me explain to you. A farmer might be planting cabbage and he's doing very well. He would take concession and buy a vehicle and pay up to $150,000 for transport. But he don't want to buy a pump for $40,000. He'll buy one for $8,000 and $9,000. Don't want to buy a good pump. So he's always in trouble because the pump either not powerful enough or breaking down with great regularity. But he preferred to buy a vehicle. He would not establish a shade house. He would not take a loan to get a shade house for $20,000 to help him batter the inclement weather conditions. The financial institution in Grenada, they're extremely liquid. They have money. but they are not willing to lend the money to the farmers, not even in specific areas, to say we have fund, but we will lend it for shade houses. Our agricultural exports, including the Nutmeg Cocoa Board and the farmers' representative in the Senate, they have the opportunity to negotiate in the international community and get financial grant aid for specific projects in Grenada. But they would not research, they would not seek assistance to help in these areas like shade houses, good generating pumps, and etc. They don't. Sometimes you wonder what's wrong with our people. I seriously wonder. We have the small investment program. We have the issue to do with climate and global warming, and you hear all sort of noise making. Grenada is a small country, and the countries in the Caribbean would not seek assistance in specific areas like that. Nutmeg and Cocoa Association, two of the worst lobbying groups in Grenada. For years, I've been begging them to take a page from the trade union and the private sector representative in the Senate. They always jump up and join the political bandwagon. And the Nutmeg and Cocoa Association always more sensitive to the NDC and the old GNP. They never like Gold Party and they never like NNP. But they never seek interests of the farmers. The present Minister of Agriculture, when he left agriculture, he joined the Nutmeg and Cocoa Association for many years. I do hope he will wake up. He will wake up one day and encourage Cocoa Association to abandon the bad policy of writing when they're going to buy cocoa on a board and having a special chat, rather to use a radio station, the technology and the media available, so all and sundry in Grenada will know. Because cocoa is a seasonal crop, I think sometime between November, February, March, they can practically prepare a roster subject to change and make it available to the farmers. Cocoa Association still buying cocoa in secret. And the Minister of Agriculture today was part and parcel of this issue because he was working in Cocoa Association. He was working with cocoa and nutmeg for perhaps more than a decade. Sometimes you wonder what's wrong with us. The fact that we don't have certain things on the market now because of seed, I don't know who we want to blame for. We have the University of the West Indies that should be assisting us in seed production. Governments in the Caribbean can work together and work with big companies in Germany and United States, so we work as a Caribbean people. In the same way we buy generic drugs together for the OECS, we can do that with seeds. Our representatives in agriculture are extremely poor. They don't seek the interests of agriculture. When I say that, you get attacked left, right, and center. Even the farmers don't agree with you. I understand that the government provide financial assistance for the cocoa and nutmeg. And I expect them to do that because that is their voice. The farmers' representative in the Senate is a member of these boards. The Speaker of the House is a member of the board, a manager, whatever. And the Minister of Agriculture recently worked with this organization for perhaps 10 years. And I'm absolutely certain whenever he no longer the minister, he job show. Because the Cocoa Association and the Nutmeg Association have always appeared and seem to appear to seek the interests of the National Democratic Congress. So now that they're in power, I understand they get some money. Well, obviously, it's not to pay back pay because we would have known that already. But somebody said they got some money to help to work land. I don't know if they finished the project yet or if they don't start yet. But this is the dilemma we have. Today, the vegetable farmers have problem with availability of seed. And I don't know how they will be helped. Because these individuals that is in a position to help them, I don't know if they are regurgitators for the multinational corporation. We have a lot of people in Grenada who are educated to regurgitate for the multinational corporation. They are not thinkers. They are not prepared to solve our problems. And maybe we could beg them and try to change their attitude, their mentality. That is the biggest challenge we have in Grenada, to change our mentality and attitude. You know, the number to call is 4420175. And as we address the issues in Grenada vis-a-vis agriculture, so we're likely to have a lot of shortage on the market. Yes, lettuce and cabbage and cauliflower and seasoning pepper and tomatoes and potato and practically everything. And because of these shortages, the price would be extremely high. So you will find restaurants using a razor blade to cut cucumber and tomatoes. So more and more, we have a generation of children that will practically lose their taste for these vegetables. They would practically lose their taste for it. It is so expensive. In a harsh economic period, perhaps it's only the better paid people who could buy these things. The people in the lower income group, they will not bother with tomatoes and cabbage and beets that we get from Trinidad that come out in Canada away. And carrots, they would not bother with these things. They go to eat macaroni and ramen and Irish potato. These imported products may well be cheaper and more readily available. Yes, caller, welcome.
Yeah, Mr. Pierre,
yes,
they have to do something about this cost of main thing too. What? A pound of saltfish just the other was $14 now, $16.25. Nah, man, they have to do something with that. And concerning the cocoa association, this year is very bad for the cocoa. A lot of cocoa lost a lot of cocoa this year to the weather, man. All them born, they don't them match, they're born in and thing, man. So maybe true, junior dry season might be able to get a little cocoa, but for this season, nah, they are a terrible season. So I want them to do something to the cost of living. That they're taking that as a joke now, man. That come every day, the price different price every day.
I don't think that the government would do much. You see, the government philosophy has a serious, now that the government is satisfied that public officers will be paid, they would get a pension. The government is comfortable with the amount of money that goes into the pocket of the higher income bracket. The government is not very sensitive to the people in the lower income bracket. A lot of people in the lower income bracket, they don't realize that yet. The government don't care much about them. Now, we do not have VAT on saltfish. There's a number of food products that the previous government removed VAT on. I think one of them was turkey wings, saltfish, and I don't know if it's tropical oil or one of them. And if saltfish is $16 a pound, then the price is likely to go up because of the issues that is going on in Europe. You know, way back they used to say, tie your pork with a twine. You might have to tie your saltfish with a twine. Dip it 3-4 times in the soup. Because you're more likely, more and more, these food stuff will become a rarity on the plate of the people in the lower income group. Right approaching Christmas, the government fired 500 people without any reason or justification. Yes, scholar, welcome.
Mr. Pierre.
Yes, scholar, welcome.
Why don't you just tape the last caller, because he says the same thing every day since after the election. Just tape him and just replay it every day.
Well, maybe
you don't need him to call.
My program is about people expressing themselves. And
yeah, but I mean, you're talking about agriculture today.
Caller.
And he's stuck in a groove.
Caller. Some people have the same problem every day. So I give them
how could you have the same problem every day? Why don't he resolve this problem? You have the same problem every day?
Caller, some of the problems we have, they are not able to resolve it by themselves. If you fall in the lower income group and the challenge you have is because of government policy you believe, you will have to speak about it every day, and I give them the opportunity to do.
That's what I'm saying. Just tape the guy and just replay it every day.
No, I prefer to hear your voice every day. You might hear me almost every day repeat that the revolution locked up 3,000 people. And I
also you repeat the fact that there is social justice, or
you see, I need to say it again because I don't remember it. Caller, that is why we forgot
restorative justice. Restorative justice.
Not I who said that. The Prime Minister, in an interview that it has alleged that he held in Tobago, and he did not deny it. He said it is not so much transformation, but restorative justice.
Mr. Pierre, do you know that the candidate for St. George's Northeast, Mr. Nimrod, his sister just completed a PhD. She was on GBN last week, and her studies was on restorative justice. And her idea, well, you should go back and play it.
I did not.
And her understanding of restorative justice is nothing like what you're saying. You're misleading the people.
Yes, you see.
Should go back
Caller.
You should go back and listen to the tape.
Caller,
Oliver Nimrod's sister.
Caller.
Yeah, I'm listening.
When the prime minister of a country, say that one of his policies is transformation, and then he said in an interview, it is not so much transformation, but restorative justice, he owed it to the public to explain that to them.
But
Not
Mr.
anybody
Pierre,
else with any PhD. The prime minister have to explain that to the public.
Mr.
What he
Nimrod's
mean by
sister,
that?
who just completed a PhD in law, explained restorative justice.
I did not hear that person.
Well, go back, because her explanation of it and your explanation is totally different. It's 180 degrees apart.
Caller, the Prime Minister of Grenada. The Prime Minister of Grenada said...
I didn't hear that. Did you hear it? You said you didn't hear it, though.
In the same way, I did not hear the lawyer speak. You see?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So I'm speaking about what I heard.
Where would I get the Prime Minister's speech where he said restorative justice?
You could listen to a program, and I'm going to just post it to you.
All right. Do that, please.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And callers, remember, Deacon Mitchell, the Prime Minister of Grenada, don't have a long history in politics. So we don't know much what he stands for. He was never involved, as far as we know, in any developmental group. He not Tillman Thomas. He not George Brizan. He not Kit Mitchell. He brand new. So we have to try to cipher out what he would do by what he says and what he stands for. And if one of his fundamental policies is transformation, and then he said it's not so much transformation, but restorative justice. He has a ministry of mobilization. Now, in the German days was propaganda. The socialist countries and socialist governments and socialist political parties like to talk about mobilization. We see mobilization as propaganda. In 1981, Selwyn Strachan was the Minister of Mobilization. This government go and interfere with Maurice Bishop's spirit. And they have a ministry of mobilization and implementation and restorative justice. This must be a case for concern. The Prime Minister has never explained to Grenadians publicly what he meant by it is not so much transformation, but restorative justice. We believe, I believe, that this Ministry of Mobilization has been set up for political victimization, particularly in light of the fact that over 500 people have lost their job because the only crime they might have committed is because of their inclination to support the NNP. That should be of concern to you too. When a prime minister have a ministry of political mischief. So you hear me say that, but you will constantly hear me repeating it. I want my children unborn to know our history. I believe one of the prime problems the Prime Minister of Grenada has, he has not heard the verbal history of the revolution. He must have read the intellectual papers and the line of math speech. But he never heard about the man who was castrated. He never heard these stories. If he had heard these stories, he'd have never interfered with the spirit of Maurice Bishop. So I encourage our callers. You see, I'm not a man who believes that history must be taught in school. They're lying too much there. I don't encourage my children to waste time with history in school. But parents and our people must teach their people history. The people of Montrich and the surrounding villages of Tivoli that was earmarked for brutality in the revolution must start to share their history. Yes, caller, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, caller, welcome.
A question I want to find out. Did any body in authority or the government know?
You have to speak a little
have
louder.
Any idea of what the new prime minister, what is his policy towards the country and to our people and to everything? Do we all have any idea of what is his plan for the country? Ever say anything as that? Nobody could ask him a question, what is the policy of the country?
Well, based upon what we heard so far, he talked about transformation. He wants to transform the economy. And our understanding of transformation is radical changes. So, and because the prime minister don't have a history before, then when he says these things, and he seems to be a man very careful with his words, then we try to cipher out what is his policy.
Oh, so the reason why is anyone elder than him could advise him on what these things mean and explain to the nation what is his real settings for the young people who are not employed now. They only bringing back those people who are to resign and give them high jobs.
I don't think he would listen to anybody other than him. Nazim Bok had some challenges with the younger ones in the party. Some of the masterminds in the party very disrespectful to the elderly ones in the party. So it seems as though the older NDC just tagging along quietly. I don't think they have any significant influence.
So everybody know. And then a question I had to ask. What I really want to understand, when some changes of some laws passing, as we have an opposition now, you don't have to discuss nothing, have come together and discuss nothing, so the opposition should know what's going on. You don't respect the opposition there.
Well, I don't think he have to. Now, the law doesn't provide for him to discuss that. In our democracy, the winner takes it all. So he could bring it in parliament and the opposition could argue with it there. But because he have the majority in parliament, it would pass anyway.
So we have to sit down and take with that as ship right now.
No, we could constantly ask questions, and that is the issue. When we ask questions and we say things on our program, sometimes they challenge us, but the truth does burn. So they can't answer the question and it's difficult for them to handle it. So people need to continue speaking.
Thank you so far.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, people need to continue speaking and expressing themselves on the issues. And that may help because obviously some of the questions that we're asking, the prime minister, the government of the day have a policy of need to know. They say they will provide information for you on a need to know basis. Now, the previous government was more liberal with the press and people answering questions. After every cabinet meeting, they had a press conference and they opened up themselves more to the journalists. But this government seems to say information is a need to know basis. So some of our questions, we will hope that some of the journalists in the Caribbean that have access to the ministers ask them. It appears that the ministers in Grenada is in hibernation where the press is concerned. They are not making themselves available to answer questions. In other words, they're hiding. and the Prime Minister answer on a need-to-know basis. Yes, caller, welcome.
Afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, caller, welcome.
Well, Dr. Keith Mitchell is not in government. He's opposition. And why is they blaming him for the close down on the port? Why is he?
Well, I think it is easy for distraction. So if they claim it is not them, it's somebody else, it's a little distraction in the propaganda
Yeah,
machine.
but Mr. Pierre, whatever they need, darkness always come out in the light because there is a God in heaven that sees and knows everything.
But God gives you the power, and He also gives you the telecommunication means, the radio and the programs.
Exactly.
So that is why people have to listen to programs that prepare to entertain people and answer
Mr.
questions.
Pierre, next thing, this mister always calling your program and want to disrespect you. I mean, yes, you have a right to listen to him, but why he always does that to you?
Well, I would like him to, it's a good thing for him to continue calling. By we always presenting truth, he may better understand. Sometimes, if you listen to a lot of lies, you could start to believe it.
Okay.
So sometimes I encourage people on my program to speak the truth.
Okay, but that was how tell the truth.
Yeah, and the truth burns. It's not easy.
You
So I
take care, Mr.
encourage
Pierre,
them.
continue your program.
Yes. And I also challenge the other ministers to speak on the issues. What is the justification? Why you fire the women of Kariku, the women of Pulse, right in front of Christmas, the road wardens? Why you fire them? A government must make more jobs, not fire 500 people in the space of within 6 months are you coming into power. You fire 500 people and just before the 25th of December. This have to be a little heartless. And we come to the end of our program today, and we want to thank you for listening to us and participating with us on the program. And we try to take as much of your questions as possible on Facebook, on YouTube, WhatsApp. And we encourage you to be with us tomorrow between 12 and 1 when we have more opportunity to punch. Thank you.
Waged and fought through victory and pain. By test of their courage, our freedom was gained. In homage to those gone before us, the heroes of lands in the sun, we vow to join hands and to focus on building one Caribbean. Raise your voices high, sing of your Caribbean pride. Sing it loud and strong, feel our hearts beat as one. Celebrate in song as we rise to heights where we belong. Sound of victory flow for Caracum. Though great and diverse be our ethnicities, the bonds that unite us are stronger than these. We dine, we pray, we love, we dance and we play. We relate to each other, rest in your way. Today as a people united as one, determined and steadfast we stand. We look to a brand new horizon, the future now firmly in our hands. Raise your voices high and sing of your Caribbean pride. Sing it loud and strong, feel our hearts beat as one.
Triple N. Informative, entertaining, and first. Every hour on the hour.
This is the latest update of news produced by Triple M. Details when we get back.
M&M Hardware Limited, Hope St. Andrew and